Okay, so it's time for us to go ahead and get back into our coverage over the X-Men. And we do pick up at X Factor issue number 108 and 109. Now, technically, this is the beginning of Legion Quest. Now, here's the thing, because even though we are technically starting our coverage over Legion Quest, there are going to be other storylines that take place in between the different chapters of this huge X-Men event that leads into Age of Apocalypse. Now, as we go through today's video, I'm going to begin to kind of bring in other things that lead into this storyline, which of course leads into Age of Apocalypse as well. Now, this two-part storyline is also picking up where we left off when it came to X-Men Unlimited issue number 4. Because in that storyline right there, you had Nightcrawler being able to find out that his mother was Mystique. Now, that was a big moment for Marvel fans, but also for Nightcrawler as well, because that means that Rogue is his adoptive sister, but he also found out that he has a brother, and that would be Graydon Creed. Now, here's the thing, because in that storyline, you had Graydon Creed trying his best to kill off Nightcrawler, Rogue, and also Mystique, his entire family. And the reason why? Because they were mutants. Now, at the end of that storyline, you have Mystique give up her life by going ahead and jumping off a waterfall to basically allow Rogue to focus on saving Nightcrawler's life to allow her children to live on. And so after that moment right there, to the world, Mystique was dead. But here's the thing. Because as we get into the opening pages for today's storyline, we do pick up with Forge, Nightcrawler, and also Rogue. Now, this is Forge kind of forcing Rogue and Nightcrawler to replay that moment in their head to kind of see, to make sure that did Mystique actually die when she fell down that waterfall? And the thing is, they never found a body. And Mystique is a dangerous woman. And so you want to make sure that she is dead, because if she is not, then most likely she will cause problems for you down the road in later events. And so it's Forge saying, like, Rogue, you saw her go down the waterfall, but are you sure that she is dead? Now, for Nightcrawler, he does ask a good question here. Because to him it's more of like, hey, Forge, if we knew that she was alive, wouldn't you think that we'll go out of our way to try to find our mother? Now, for Forge, he kind of does shift his focus over to Rogue, because for Rogue, she was the only child that Mystique actually took care of. Nightcrawler, Kraden, did not get the chance to live with their mother as much as Rogue did. And so you have Rogue saying, like, what do you mean by that? And it's Forge saying, well, maybe, just maybe, you are trying to protect her, or there is a possibility that you want to see her dead, because if she is dead, that means you are then able to move on. It's him kind of hoping that maybe, just maybe, when it comes to Rogue, she might release a piece of information that could possibly help him to figure out if Mystique is dead or alive. But of course, he does tick off Rogue and Nightcrawler, and they leave at his office very angry. But as they leave, you have Val Cooper walk into the room. Now, when she does, is her kind of wondering the same thing as well, like, is there a possibility that Mystique is alive? Because that would be pretty wild. But while you have the two characters talking to one another, Nick Fury walks in. He's all like, hey, listen, I got proof that she is alive, because there was this embassy. At that embassy, there was a woman, and she had appeared twice on the same camera system and two different locations at the same exact time. Now, for Val, it's kind of like, okay, cool. There are other people out there who have the ability to shapeshift. But you have Nick say, yeah, but the one right now on camera on the computer, yeah, she had just approved a flight for Avalanche. And so just like that, they now know that has to be Mystique. We got to find her now and bring her in, because she is a wanted criminal. And so we then jump over to Havoc and also Strong Guy. Now, they are the only two members to go after Avalanche, except when they do confront Avalanche, it's just him. There's no Mystique at all. Now, you would think, like, okay, cool. With Havoc here and also Strong Guy here, they should be easily able to take down Avalanche. No, you actually have our heroes lose in a matter of seconds. And when they look up to see where Avalanche went to, he had already disappeared and left the scene. But now we know for sure that yes, Mystique is alive, and yes, she did allow him to fly into this country. Now, for our heroes, they're kind of wondering, like, where is Mystique going to next? Like, who could be her next target? Because she's doing all of this to go after somebody. And they realize that she's going after Gabrielle Haller. Now, Gabrielle Haller is very important. Here's the reason why. Because she is the ex-lover to Charles Xavier. But also, they have a son together, and that would be David, better known as Legion. Now, when it comes to Legion, back in Uncanny X-Men number 255, that man had killed off Mystique's lover, and that would be Destiny. Now, when it comes to Legion, let's not forget that he has different personalities in his mind, but each one, they have their own powers. But here comes the big catch. None of those personalities had killed off Destiny. It was the Shadow King who was controlling Legion to kill off Destiny. But for Mystique, she does not know that. And so for her, it's kind of like, no, Legion killed off the woman I love, and now I need to kill him. So right now, he is her next target. Now, when it comes to Legion, though, recently he had fallen into a coma. So he's staying at a hospital. But for our heroes, when they do arrive at the hospital, they do confront Gabrielle, and they try their best to explain like why they are there for, like, hey, we are here to protect your son because we believe his life could be in danger. Now, for Gabrielle, it does not make sense at all because her son has been in a coma for a good while. Like, he is no longer a threat to anybody at the moment, but at the same time, it does not make sense why anybody would come after him. Now, before you have our heroes try to explain things to her, you have Wolfbane being able to pick up on the scent of Mystique, which means she is somewhere in the hospital. Now, when you do have our heroes break up, we see her. She's there, and she also sees X Factor as well, which means to her, her game plan has to change if she wants to be able to kill off David. And her plan works out very well because when it comes to Mystique, she pretends to be Gabrielle. And so you have Mystique being Gabrielle walk into the room and pretend to be a mother who's now very concerned for her child, David. But in reality, that's not Gabrielle, it's Mystique. But Forge falls for it, and he leaves the room to allow her to have some alone time with her son. And so as soon as he walks out the room, just like that, is Mystique saying, cool, this is the perfect time for me to go ahead and kill off the man who is responsible for the death of the woman I loved so much. Except her plan falls apart very quickly because you didn't have Gabrielle walk into the room. And when she does, she's kind of like, whoa, Mystique, what are you doing to my son? Now, you have X Factor also run into the room as well, kind of like, yo, Mystique, let's not go through this plan of yours right now because you're killing off somebody who's basically in a coma. But again, this man is responsible for the death of Destiny, a woman that she loved so much. And with all that being said, before she's able to do anything at all to Legion, her hand swings backwards. And we're kind of like, why in the world would that happen? And the reason why? Because Legion has woken up and he says, oh, Mystique, I have been expecting you, smiling while sitting on his hospital bed. And so as we dive into X Factor issue number 109, we now pick up where 108 left off at. With Legion now being awake, it's kind of like, yo, what can possibly happen here? Because this man holds on to many different personalities where each one has their own powers. But at the same time, it's like he knew that Mystique was coming for him sooner or later. Now, for Mystique, she still thinks she has a chance to kill off Legion. But you have Legion being able to just send her flying away. Now, for Mystique, she now knows that she has to dip the heck out of there because there's no way that she'll be able to go toe to toe with Legion, but also with X Factor as well. So her next goal is to get the heck out of the hospital. Now, while trying to do that, you have Forge give Wolfbane a device. Now, this device will allow Forge and the others to track Wolfbane as she tries to track down Mystique. Now, before you have Legion go back to sleep, this kind of leads into the whole idea of a possibility of him doing something big because he says, Mom, don't worry, I am going to fix everything. And kind of leaving you wondering, like, what do you mean by that statement? But then he does pass out. But right after that, he does fall asleep. But while falling asleep, he's then confronted by Destiny in his dream. Now, this is Destiny telling Legion to tell Mystique what she told him a long time ago. The whole idea that, listen, her death was not on purpose. It wasn't like Destiny said, hey, Legion, I hate you because you killed me or one of your personalities killed me. No, he killed her because he was being controlled by the Shadow King. And so it's Destiny saying, you need to tell Mystique what exactly went down, that technically you're innocent. But on top of that, my death was going to come no matter what because that's how life works. That's how fate works. And so it's her saying you need to tell Mystique the actual truth. Now, for Mystique, it's her right now still wanting to make a plan to hopefully get to Legion. And so she meets up with Avalanche. Now, for Avalanche, he's kind of upset with her because before he had joined the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, this was a man who was able to kind of move around the world so freely without any kind of trouble. But the problem is now it's like he can't. Like, eyes are always on him. But for Mystique, she still believes that him and her should be able to pull off this mission. The problem is you have X Factor arrive because for X Factor, they have been keeping tabs on Avalanche, just waiting for him to make a reappearance. And once he did, bam, just like that, they were called up by authorities in that area. And so now it's X Factor coming after Avalanche and also Mystique. And it does lead into a battle where you do have Mystique being able to get away, but it's her right now just trying her best to figure out how can she kill off Legion, just adapting to her situation. Now, for Legion, he does wake back up, and you have Gabrielle in the room with him. Now, at first, she believes that Legion is talking to his father, Charles Xavier, but he is not. And so, once she does walk out the room and come back into the room, Legion is gone. And the question is now, where in the world did he go to? But let's not forget that for Wolfbane, she had a device given to her by Forge, and that device will lead into the next section. But for right now, it's her just trying her best to track down Mystique. Now, once she's able to find Mystique, is Mystique saying like, did you really think that I would not realize that you are following me? Now, it's also Mystique trying to express what it's like to lose somebody, like Wolfbane has not. Now, technically, Wolfbane did because she lost Cypher back at the end of Fall of the Mutants. But for Mystique, it's more of, I have lived a long, long life. I have lost a lot of things, but losing Destiny hurts the most. Now, for Mystique, her goal is to go ahead and kill off Wolfbane, but at the very last second, you have Forge appear. Now, let's not forget that between Mystique and Forge, there is a lot going on. And let me explain, because when it came to Uncanny X-Men issue number 255, that was when you had Destiny die. But here's the thing, Forge was supposed to watch over her, but there was a lot going on. And so, unfortunately, Forge had no choice but to go ahead and abandon her to help out other people. And Destiny said, go help out other people now. Now, for Destiny, she knew that her death was coming. She also knew what her death could possibly do to other people down the road. But either way, when it came to Forge, he left. and then Legion killed her. Now, for Legion, he was being controlled by the Shadow King. And so, unfortunately, it was kind of like he had no choice there but to go ahead and kill off Destiny. But on top of that, let's not forget that Mystique had pretended to be insane, like literally pretending that because she has the ability to shapeshift, because of that, her mind was broken. But in reality, she was just pretending to be insane, to get in Forge office, to get information that she needed for this job right here. And so it's Forge and Mystique kind of like hating on one another for so many different reasons. Now, while their battle goes on, you then have Legion reappear and being able to stop Forge right in his track to allow Legion and Mystique to have a conversation. And so we see they have their conversation inside his mind. Now, when they do, is Mystique still trying to express how angry she is with Legion? But is Legion saying, hey, listen, before she died, she told me this right here, to beware of times not shared, hearts not loved, and destinies not written. She made me promise to tell you that. And that's really it. It's literally a short conversation. Now, kind of left to wonder what that could possibly mean. But to go ahead and close on today's video, we come back to reality. Mystique is knocked the heck out. Now for X Factor, they are there as well, and they're trying their best to get inside his psychic shield that he had placed around him and Mystique. But for Legion, he says, you need to be somewhere else. And so out of nowhere, he then teleports our heroes to a different location. Then he flies off because he says, don't worry, I am going to fix everything, going to make everything better. And so Legion Quest does continue on in X-Men issue number 39. Now the question is though, what happened to X Factor? Where in the world did they get teleported to? Is the big question right there. But this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.